Thank you very much, Anouk, and good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Today we're going to talk about going hybrid and what that means to the club, and also what that means to our club's finances. Let's dive into this, shall we? The first thing I wanted to explain to you is a little bit about the dues structure at Toastmasters. We're all familiar with the $45 that we pay to Toastmasters International. That's required for us to be members. The club doesn't maintain any or doesn't retain any of that $45, but the bylaws of our club do allow us to charge an additional club dues if we choose to do so. Currently, though, we don't charge any club dues. We charge $0 because we've been meeting over Zoom and we don't really have a whole lot of expenses. But to put it into perspective, prior to the pandemic, when we were meeting in person, we did charge $25 to help us cover meeting costs. Let's talk about hybrid meetings. What the heck are these things, and is it really possible? Yes, it is possible. Here's what a hybrid meeting is. You get a camera, you get a microphone, and you hook them up to a laptop, and you capture the activity in a room, and then you broadcast that over the internet to a Zoom meeting. So the people in the Zoom meeting can see what's going on in the in-person meeting, and the in-person meeting can see what's going on with the people in the Zoom call. That's what a hybrid meeting is all about. There are a lot of Toastmasters clubs who are adopting this model, and I want to give a shout out to Greg Williams for reaching out to those people to learn about the best practices and how to actually go about doing this. There are a lot of members at Pikes Peak Toastmasters who have been building up some interest in this going hybrid model. So what are the benefits of going hybrid? One of the key benefits is that I see is it helps us to recruit new members. We've actually had some feedback from guests who show up and say, hey, this is great, but I'm really looking for something that's more in person. And we need to have that new blood, that fresh blood, the new members joining our club to keep the club vibrant and incandescent. Another thing about going hybrid is that for those of us who have ever been in front of a live audience, you need a different set of speaking skills and techniques to speak to a live audience. Think about the fact that we've been doing this over Zoom for a long time now. Think about the fact that if you're in person, you're going to have a lot of eyes on you. You have a stage to deal with. And then that vocal variety that I always talk about, if you talk really soft, are the people in the back of the room going to hear you? These are the kinds of things you have to worry about when you're speaking to an in-person audience and not just over Zoom. There's flexibility with attendance in a hybrid meeting. If you're local, you can choose to go to the meeting. You can choose to stay home and do it over Zoom. You've got options. For those of you who are not local, sorry, you still only have one choice, unless you want to come to Colorado Springs, which we're welcome to have you. But I do like that option of flexibility. Networking is another benefit of hybrid meetings. When you go to an in-person meeting, you have the ability to have a little sidebar conversation before or after the meeting, or even maybe during the meeting. You could say hi to someone, you could learn a little bit more about them. It's a lot easier to do networking in person than it is over Zoom. Sure, we've got the little chat off to the side, or maybe the little chit chat that we have before the meetings, but the networking is just a lot easier in person. Then there's that incandescent energy. I get pumped after these Zoom calls by doing, having the people and all the fun things I learned from Toastmasters and the development that I myself experience, as well as seeing all of you grow and learn. That builds a lot of energy within me. But can you imagine doing that morning cheer with a bunch of people in the room? How incandescent would that be to say, I'm alive, I'm alert, and I feel great, and we're all jumping up and down. For those of us who've been in Pikes Peak Toastmasters long enough to remember us doing that, that really did get the blood pumping. And that I should also add, that energy spreads to not just the people in the room, but also the people in the Zoom call as well. Lastly, there's the physical presence. We are creatures that have a need for a sense of community. We need that social fabric. And having an in-person meeting where you get to see someone and look at them in the eyes, or pat them on the back, shake their hand or fist bump, or whatever the case might be. Those are the kinds of things that we need as a society. Not everyone needs it, or they need it to different degrees, but many of us do. We all need to a certain degree, I should say, that we need to have that connection with each other. And a hybrid meeting can offer that. Let's talk about costs. As I mentioned before, the Zoom costs are pretty minimal when we meet as just a Zoom only. All we really pay for is a Zoom license and PayPal fees. We've got enough money in the bank to cover those minimal costs. So we haven't been asking for any money from the members as such. However, if we start going hybrid, we're gonna have to start buying some things. We'll have to get some equipment. We'll have to worry about costs for a meeting room, food and beverage costs, meeting supplies such as the ribbons and the ballots. And of course, there's still the Zoom and PayPal fees, which again are pretty minimal, but all this adds up to about $1,500 a year. And for a club of our size, this adds up to about $30 a member every 6 months. Now I have to say that is just an estimate. We'll have a better idea of what the costs are when we go fully hybrid, but for now, I'm gonna guess it's about $30 a member every 6 months. But because we're not hybrid yet, I'm not proposing that we start charging each member $30 a month or $30 every 6 months. Let's cut it in half and start charging $15 per person every 6 months. And that's my proposal. And then we'll start that effective this coming renewal period, the April through September period. Here are the next steps. First, if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know or talk to any one of our club officers before February 16th. That's a week from today, because on February 16th, what I'd like to do is hold an official club business meeting where we'll vote on whether we'll raise the dues. And if that vote is approved, then I will send out renewal notices to all the members for $60 rather than the usual $45. $45 to Toastmasters International and $15 to the club to help pay for the hybrid costs. That is my presentation for today. And I'm going to hand control of the meeting back over to our Toastmaster, Anouk.